Today's video is brought to you by Cher and her song, If I Could Turn Back Time. We have just finished our 7th year of homeschooling, and there are definitely a few things that if I could go back and tell my younger self, I could have saved myself so much stress and heartache, or just overthinking things, or things that I thought in the past were true, maybe not necessarily are true. And so I'm gonna share a couple of these with you. You may relate to one or a couple of these, you may relate to all of them, or maybe none of them apply to you. So first is something I've actually shared before years ago on my homeschool channel, and it was something that you should know about your very first year of homeschooling. And in that video, I had said that your very first year of homeschooling is the hardest year. If you can get through that, then, the years will be easier. To that, I definitely do not agree with anymore. While our first year was absolutely a challenge, I would not say that it was the hardest year and that every year has just been easier in comparison. It's hard in the fact that it's all brand new to you and your children. And yes, every year going forward, you at least have that experience that you can build on. But as far as life events, things happen, things come up, your kids get older, maybe you've added kids, maybe you've lost a job or moved, or you had to get a job, or whatever the case may be. Saying that the first year is the hardest, not necessarily the case. Yes, certain things have become a little bit more streamlined and efficient, but it's not like the first year was this mountain and challenge, and then every year has just been, like a tropical vacation. Next, something I would tell myself, and maybe you, especially for people who are new to homeschooling and or you have younger kids, is to find a homeschool group or community that you can fit in with and align with. And it could take years, honestly. I don't want to sound discouraging or anything, but hopefully you'll find something quick. So our very first year of homeschooling, my oldest was in first grade and my little one was in preschool, and then I had a 2-year-old. I had 3 girls. I just said our first year we are just going to focus on school itself. I'm not going to try to get involved with a million different groups or anything like that, which that one was fine. I don't regret that. But then the next year we started to get involved in some groups and do things this and that. And sure enough, that's when COVID happened. And so it shut everything down for the rest of that year and pretty much the rest of the following year. And by that time, I had gotten out of the groove of it, and it was just easier to not. And so we finally started getting back involved with things a couple years ago. But I just wish I would have been more diligent. Last year is when we found a homeschool co-op that we really enjoy, really love. So if I had to go back and give advice to someone who is just starting off, who, again, you have littler kids or you're just starting off, try to find that. And I don't mean go crazy on the other end where you're just trying a million things and you're running yourself ragged, because part of the reason we do homeschool is because we want to be at home. So you don't want to way over stress yourself and way over commit yourself, but be actively trying to search for that homeschool fit, that homeschool community that your kids can be part of and that you can be part of too. And I think it is such a huge blessing to have that. Okay, next one is that you don't have to have a plan for 5 years down the road. Okay. I know. I am not type 2 where I get so ahead of myself that years ago I was planning up to 8th grade. And you know what? Most of the curriculum that I was we would do this and this and this, and I could do this year, most of it we never ever even did. So take it a year at a time, maybe 2 years, 2 years out. Please don't go much further than that. With the exception of if you have someone, middle school / high schooler, you are going to want to kind of get an idea of what their high school courses will look like and kind of what path they're going to be taking. But other than that, elementary, do not plan more than a year out. Again, maybe 2 if it's part of a history course or something that you're well, we need the first section and then following up the next year. After that, if you have a first grader, you do not need to plan for middle school. Okay? And I know it's easy to do and get carried away, but you're just going to be wasting your time, because you're really not going to be probably even be doing it unless you just want to have fun. But don't hold too tightly to those plans that you have made for your 6-year-old, what they will be doing in 9th grade. This one may be a little bit, It's going to be a little controversial, but that's okay. I've said controversial things on my channel before, and it is what it is. My older two, when we started homeschooling, like I just said, we're in like preschool and first grade, and my youngest one was only 2 at the time, but she had, you know, over the following couple years, she had seen her sisters doing books and working and writing and all of that stuff. So when she was like 4, I want to say, she had just turned 4, I said, hey, let's do some preschool work. She said she seems interested. And so her birthday is at the end of September. So had I started her in regular school, she would have been technically the grade behind she is right now. So she's technically a grade ahead, but it's really hard when you have those like summer, September birthdays. I said to myself, you know, if things are hard or we can slow down, I'm not in a rush. She's still doing fine, but I really, really wish that I would have just slowed down and kept with her grade level that she was supposed to be. I have another one whose birthday, another daughter, her birthday is the end of August, and she's actually the grade below which she should be in. So everybody's all over the place, and that's okay. I have found, and this may just be anecdotal in our personal experience, but I have found that my daughter, who is technically a grade behind, and I don't want to say behind because she's really not, she's just right where she's supposed to be. She's doing great. It's easier for an older kid to do the work of that grade level than it is for a younger kid to try to bump up to, you know, when you get to 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, the work gets up more challenging, and sometimes maturity levels aren't there, and just like mental capabilities and all of that, you know, skills, that's not always there. So if I had to do it over again, I would make sure that my children were either specifically in their quote grade level, or if they were on the cusp, I would just hold off, because it's always, you can always go ahead and bump them up if they want to, but to say, okay, well, we have to pull you back, that's hard on their emotions, because they feel like, what, is something wrong with me, you know? And so it's just easier to bump them ahead, because that makes them more confident. Oh, I get to go ahead in this grade or this specific level of whatever course they're taking, rather than like, hold on, let's slow you down. It's just easier to go ahead than it is when they get older than it is to slow them down. My next one would have saved us so much stress in the morning had I just realized this years before, but I didn't until the end of this year. So 7 years in now, our mornings have not always looked the same, but the past several years, I have tried to have my girls be a little bit more scheduled and regimented in what we do in the morning. And then they had like a chore to do every single morning, making their beds, straightening, getting dressed, brushing their teeth, all of that. And then we would try to do morning time. And if any or all of those kind of ran late or ran behind, then they were behind to do their independent work. And then they felt like, oh, well, this is cutting it, you know, in their brain, they have a certain time that school ends, and they're like, we're done after that. They're checked out. They're just like any other normal kid. I'm specifically talking about for the morning. We no longer do like, okay, you have to have a chore done or this or that. I've eliminated that. You don't have to be dressed at a certain time or any of that. I am much, much, much more laid back with all of that now, and it has been so amazing. Now, we still stick to a routine, whether you are a routine person or not as a mom. Children definitely need some sort of routine. So again, it doesn't have to be from 8 to 8:30, we do this, 9 to 9:30 that. But as long as they have a general flow of their day, they know what to expect, they know what's coming next, behaviors and attitudes and all of that will definitely be improved. But you don't want to go on, for us personally. On the other hand, having too much to do in the morning time just kind of made everybody at each other's throats. You know, this isn't my chore to do today. I already did that chore. She did my chore last week, you know, so it was just causing a lot of tension, a lot of chaos. So what we do in the morning is they get up, we have breakfast and watch World Watch News. And then after that, they kind of are on their own. I do my thing with the baby. I get dressed. I will do a chore, you know, straighten up or whatever needs to be done. They will start working on their independent work or get dressed, make their bed. They definitely have to do that. They're not in their pajamas or anything. We definitely get dressed every day. They have to brush their teeth, brush their hair, but they kind of do it on their own time. Before it was like, all right, everyone switch off. You do this now, and then you do your chore and you unload the dishwasher. Now they just have a couple responsibilities. They have to unload their section of the dishwasher. They have to get dressed, brush their teeth. I try to have them make their bed and then do a 2-minute room blessing. I know it sounds a little bit cheesy, but it's better than saying clean your room. And it's just 2 minutes every morning to kind of straighten up what is on their side of the room. And it just keeps the room, it's not perfect, but at least it's semi straightened up so it just doesn't become this big heap of a mess. And then one of them feeds the dog every morning. And that is it. They're not doing, someone's got to clean this bathroom or sprint, or we're not doing all that. We're not saying you have to be done by 9 o'clock. At some point in the morning, they get those tasks done. Now, sometimes I have to remind them to unload the dishwasher or whatever, but for the most part, they do that on their own. And it has just been there's so much less fighting, so much less arguing, so much less attitude directed at me. And our mornings have just gone so much smoother and calmer and quieter. And you know how that goes. When there's chaos in the house, it affects everybody. So anything you can do to eliminate that. Now, like I said, we are going on year 7 of homeschooling, and I always am tweaking and changing to see what fits and what doesn't, and what works and what doesn't. And so this is definitely something I'm going to continue in the future for as long as it's working. What I would have told myself years ago, and what I recommend to you, is maybe set aside one day. This is what we do. Friday mornings is our chore day where we get everything done. Because I'm not that type that's like, you clean this on Monday and then Tuesday is the kitchen. Like, I want it all done all at once so it can feel like it's done for the weekend. So Friday is just what we happen to do. And then yes, they have to straighten up. They do like a 5-minute cleanup of like the living room and put their books away and things like that every night before bed. So I would tell my younger self, have a much more relaxed morning and start to the day. And I think it will set everybody else's attitudes up for a better day overall. Now, again, that doesn't mean you just sit in your pajamas all day. You don't start school till noon. You just do whatever. I'm not talking about chaos. I'm just saying a relaxed routine is a good thing to consider, especially if you notice your mornings are chaotic and you're trying to cram too many things to do right in the morning. And then lastly, now there could be many more, but these are just a couple that I could think of. And so lastly, it is, I cannot do this on my own. Now, if you had asked me that several years ago, of course, I would have never been like, yep, I got this. I don't need you, God. Like, I never would have admitted that or said that or had that conscious thought. But just over the years, different things that have happened. And again, I have 3 kids, now I have 4. And in 7 years of homeschooling, they grow and things change and life happens. And so I realized, as every year that goes by, like, nope, I cannot do this on my own. I cannot. Again, I know not every single person is a Christian who watches my videos, but if you are a believer, to rely on the Lord, ask Him for strength, for peace, for wisdom, for patience. I know we all need patience, and that they will see the Lord through you, and you can be a light to your children, and that they won't just see you as teacher and mom, but that you will be a light to them. That will bring the most glory to God. And that is something that I pray for myself, and that I really I want to be an example of. So those are my top things that, again, if I were to go back and tell somebody, or tell myself, or someone who is just starting off, maybe that is you, a couple things. If you have any advice, any veteran homeschool moms, any moms who've been doing this for a couple years, please leave a comment down below so that you can be a blessing to some other homeschool moms who might just be starting off, who are looking for all the advice they can get. I know that was me before, and I know that was you at some point. You were just looking for any and all advice. Thanks for watching, guys. You can give this video a thumbs up if you thought it was helpful, and I'll see you soon.